Deep into the eyes, read them like a book. Trapped inside a prison, gotta free them like a crook. Make off with the loot, made off for the joke. Treated like these cowards never needed what we took, and we repeat it like a hook. Caught in the deep, come back like Wheezy. Card 3, sensation. Wait, then pause the beat. Eyes don't lie, truth still hard to see. They're begging me to show them, they're saying that I owe them, but I'll never give it up. Not for you, not for no one. Foreign ride, touring, soaring, open road, exploring.
Yeah, welcome to the show. This is Smoke the Competition, and I'm your host, Eric Sojash. Thank you for checking us out. It's greatly appreciated. Please subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe below. Just pause the video real quick, hit that subscription button. It will take you just a second. I got a lot of great tips for you, a lot of fun fantasy information. It's definitely worth your time. So please subscribe. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Sojash Sports. Today's episode, I'm jumping right into NFL Week 6. Can't believe how fast the season is flying by. We got some bye weeks. I'm breaking them down on the screen here. Some huge offenses we're going to be missing. Some big key players. No Kansas City Chiefs. No Los Angeles Rams. No Miami Dolphins. And no Minnesota Vikings. So we're going to need to fill these lineups. We also got a lot of injuries we got to deal with. Man, it's going to be a tough one, but that's what we're here for. I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks you need to fill your rosters. Let you know what I'm doing in my leagues. So without further ado, once again, I'm Eric Sojash. Please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, give us a follow. Let's go. All right, first things first, we're going to break down the lingo here, let you guys know exactly how things are discussed on Smoke the Competition. If I set a player up as a must start, that's an absolute smash. That's a must start. That's a top 12 play. Get him in your lineups. Don't think twice about it. If I say a player is a hero start, now that's more of your boom or bust. That's a player that I believe can exceed expectations or can bust. One of those players that you could take a swing on him, but he can sink you, or he can take you all the way to the championship. In terms of a floor start, now that's exactly how it sounds. It's a player that I believe has a very safe floor, but there's not a high ceiling. Some of those players that are going to get you, 6 to 8 points a week, get you them safe points. They won't completely bust, but they definitely won't blow up for you. And then a risky start is exactly what it sounds like. A player that's too risky to start, put them in your lineups. They could cost you the W. You keep them in for too long, they can cost you the season. All right, kicking things off, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Bears. This game is live from London, early game, bright and early. You're going to have to set your alarm clocks and wake up for this one. I got Trevor Lawrence as a risky start in this game. Can't trust him in 12-team leagues. I'd keep him on the bench. Running back Travis Etienne, who was drafted to be an RB1/RB2 this year, I got him as a floor start. He has PPR upside, but he looks like he's losing tread there. He's losing his opportunities. This is not the best matchup for him. The Chicago Bears do have a good defense, so I see him as a floor start this week. On the other end, I see Tank Bigsby as a hero start. If you want to shoot for the star, shoot for the upside, he's that player I'm picking up and I'm running with this week. Playing him over a Travis Etienne, I think he has bigger upside in this game. If they can keep the game close, he'll be the better running back. Brian Thomas Jr., that is a must start. It is a difficult matchup, but you can't bench this rookie. He's been fantastic. With at least 5 targets every week, he's been able to produce. Christian Kirk, he's been up and down so far this season. I think this is another down. He's a risky start. If you have other options, look elsewhere. And Evan Ingram, finally coming off the injury, I see him as a floor start. Get him in your lineups for PPR upside, but don't expect too much. And for those Chicago Bears, I got Caleb Williams as a hero start this week. I do see Caleb as a decent play with a lot of upside. He might boom this week. DeAndre Swift has broken out. He's been running crazy the last couple of weeks. I got him as a floor start. Jacksonville, they're not the best defense, but I do think they'll be desperate in this game. DeAndre Swift is up and down, so I see him as a floor start with some upside. DJ Moore, get him in your lineups. He's an absolute must start. Every week that Caleb is rolling, DJ will be rolling with him. And Roman Dunze, I got him as a hero start just alongside Caleb. I think he can boom this week. Just like those players that you're looking for that big upside. I got him in one of my lineups looking for that big upside play. Get Rome in your lineup. Keenan Allen, I don't see the big upside there. I do see a floor play. If he does see enough targets, he might be able to get you that low 6 to 8 points, but he hasn't been able to boom, and I don't see that coming. And Cole Kmet, who's been pretty consistent, the tight end 6 on the season, I see him as a must start. Now that's mostly because the tight end is just such a tough position to find. I don't see a crazy game for him, but he is pretty consistent and he can find the end zone. All right, next game we're looking at is between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. Not the best game on the weekend, but we do have some fantasy relevance here. CJ Stroud, I have him as a floor start. hasn't been the greatest year for him. This is a tough call. Usually CJ would be a must start for me. New England is a pretty good defense. That is where they hang their hat. So I see CJ as a floor start. Even if the Texans get a big lead without Nico Collins, I can see them running the ball a lot and just hanging on to a lead. In terms of Joe Mixon, running back coming back off of injury, while he was healthy, they gave him a ton of carries. I can see them doing that again. So I have him as a must start. Can see him scoring a touchdown in this game. On the top of that, we got Stephon Diggs. He'll be the wide receiver 1 with no Nico Collins. He is an absolute must start. He's the wide receiver 12 on the season, exceeding all expectations. I'm sure the Bills could use somebody like that right now. And in terms of Tank Dell, I see him as a hero start. We've all been waiting for the Tank Dell blow up. He has not returned to form from his injury last year. We all thought this was going to be a breakout year for Tank Dell. So far, it has not shown up, but this could be the week. I see him as a hero start. He's an absolute boomer bust this week. And Dalton Schultz with no Nico and with Tank Dell not really garnishing a whole bunch of targets, I can see Dalton Schultz getting some targets this week. He is my sleeper tight end of the week. So far in the season, he's tight end 27. I think he'll make a big leap this week and for weeks to come without Nico Collins. So if you can't pick him up, grab him off waivers, plug him into your lineups. Dalton Schultz, a great sleeper. Hopping over to those New England Patriots, we got a whole lot of red over here. It's not going to be a fantasy relevant team, but we got some fun. We got QB Drake May making his first debut NFL start. This should be awesome. Drake was great in college. I'm going to be excited to watch this. He is a dual threat quarterback, so get him on your lineups and just stash him. But for me this week, he is a risky start. Keep him on your benches. Antonio Gibson gets to start this week with Ramondre Stevenson injured and out. I think he has a floor start. He should get you somewhere between 8 to 9 points, depending on what kind of leagues you're in, PPR or not, half PPR. But I don't see him having a smash play. He might even struggle to get in the end zone here. But he is a safe play in terms of floor. He should have a lot of volume, not a lot of competition in terms of the backfield without Ramondre. For Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, all the receivers, I see them as risky starts. Now, Polk, you should stash. Let's see if he has a good connection with Drake May moving forward. But for this matchup, keep him on your benches. And if you're desperate at tight end, you can plug in Hunter Henry. What is the best friend for a rookie quarterback? It is a tight end. So Hunter Henry could be that surprise. You know what he did a few weeks ago? I think it was week 2. He blew up with 12 catches or something ridiculous. He may have some around 6, 7 catches again. Like I said, he will be the safety blanket for Drake May. So I see him as a floor start this week in week 6. Moving over to the Washington Commanders taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Absolute stud quarterbacks taking on each other. You have the top 2 quarterbacks in fantasy football here. Jane Daniels, number 2, absolute must start. Get him in your lineups, no questions asked. At running back, we have Brian Robinson Jr. He has an injury risk coming in with a leg injury. Now, we haven't got full confirmation if he's going to play or not. If he does play, even though it's a tough matchup, you do put him in, but temper expectations. In terms of Austin Eckler, I see him as a hero start if Brian Robinson does not play. If Brian Robinson plays, then Austin Eckler is more of a floor play. In terms of Terry McLaurin, he's been red hot lately. Keep him in your lineups. Him and Jaden have got a connection. He's an absolute must start. De'Ami Brown, too risky. He can catch that big play, or he can do a whole lot of nothing. I see him as a risky start. Keep him on your benches. And at tight end, Zach Ertz has been pretty reliable this year, but he doesn't have huge upside. I see him as a floor start this week, going against the Baltimore Ravens and that tough defense. Speaking of those Baltimore Ravens, man, they got the best rushing attack in football. You can fire up Lamar Jackson. He's an absolute must start in every format. Same thing with Derrick Henry. Both of those guys are smash plays going against the Washington Commanders. Get them in your lineups. Don't think twice about it. In terms of Zay Flowers, he's been getting a ton of targets. As long as the game script is not completely out of hand, you could fire him up. Trust him this week. He should be an absolute must start. Beyond that, everyone else in Baltimore is risky as can be. Now, Rashad Bateman can catch a big play or he can give you a dud. I see him as a risky start. Both tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Man, I don't know what's going on there. I got Mark Andrews in one league, and he's absolutely killing me. I still haven't jumped ship, but I don't know if you can play him. I'm benching him. It's a risky start here for both of them. Even though Isaiah's catching touchdowns, it's on minimal targets. So if you want to take the shot, go for it, but these guys can give you absolutely nothing. All right, jumping into those Cleveland Browns, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Just to be fully transparent, I don't trust the Eagles defense. Before the bye, they were getting absolutely torched. They got to prove it to me to show it. For that reason, I got Deshaun Watson as a hero start. And this guy, he might boom, he might bust. Pause. We don't want to say Deshaun and bust in the same sentence. But it's likely that he does not boom. I do have him as a hero start. Nonetheless, you could take a shot at him just because of the matchup. In terms of Jerome Ford, I have him as a floor start this week. He's going to have a hard time getting in the end zone, but he should see enough opportunity to be a floor start. And Amari Cooper, I see him as a must start. He hasn't boomed much this season. It's been risky playing him, but the Eagles secondary is not one of the most stout secondaries, and he has too much talent to bench. So get him in your lineups. I think this is the week you can start Amari Cooper, and he will produce for you. Beyond that, everyone else is risky. Keep Jerry Jeudy and Njoku on your benches until further notice. Speaking of my Philadelphia Eagles, they got everybody coming back. Off the bye, fresh, no more injuries, everybody's ready to roll. So for that reason, everybody's pretty much a must start. Jalen Hurts, must start. No questions asked. Get him in your lineups. Running back Saquon Barkley, don't even ask twice. Absolute must start. Don't worry about the matchups. They'll figure it out. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, if you drafted him, you've been waiting for this moment. See him back on the field. He's a smash. Absolute must start. In terms of Devontae Smith, same thing, coming back from concussion. Let's get him on the field. Another must start. Only guy I'm worried about is tight end Dallas Goedert. With all the top guns back, that puts him back in the back seat. I see him more as a risky start. I would bench him unless you had no other options. And at tight end, I understand there isn't many options. Next game we're looking at should be a high-scoring affair. Traditionally, when these two teams meet, it's a shootout, and I think that's going to happen again on Sunday between the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. For that reason, I got most of these players as a must start. Kyler Murray, line him up, get him in your lineups, absolute must start. James Conner, consistent, can't, unless he's injured, you can't bench this guy, so get him in your lineups. He's a must start. Marvin Harrison Jr., the sensation rookie, the guy that Kyler's been throwing to, making the big plays, catching the touchdowns. You get him in your lineup, fire him up. He's a must start. Now, Michael Wilson, he has been up and down. He's been getting a little bit more targets than we expected, taking a little bit of Greg Dortch's work. I don't trust him fully. I would bench him. I think there's much better plays this week, even with the bye weeks. I see him as a risky start. And Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends, fire him up. You don't think twice about it. That's a must start. All right, the team on the other end of that shootout is the Green Bay Packers. Every time Arizona and Green Bay meet, whether it's in present day or in the history, these games seem to be high-scoring affairs. I think this will be the same thing. For that reason, fire up all your Green Bay Packers. I got Jordan Love as an absolute must start. Josh Jacobs as a must start. They're going to get him in the end zone more. Just trust in it. Keep him in your lineups. Jaden Reed, no doubts. That's the wide receiver one in Green Bay. You fire him up. You have no doubts about that. Now, Romeo Doubs, I do see as a risky start. He had some problems this past week, got benched. I don't think he's going to just hit the ground running now. They have other receivers. They don't have to rely on him, so he's going to have to earn that role back, earn his targets. I see him as a risky start. Dontavian Wicks, that's the hero start I'm seeing this week. You play him, look for that upside. He is the boomer bust player of the week here on this game. I'm playing him in a couple leagues. Look for that upside there for Dontavian Wicks. If he doesn't catch that big play, he could bust, though, and give you just 2 catches. And Tyler Kraft, one of the best pickups out of free agency, an absolute must start. Tight end 1 the rest of the season. I got him in 2 leagues. I'm very ecstatic about it. You fire up Tyler Kraft, get him in your lineups. In 1 league, I'm actually playing him over Sam Laporta. I don't know if that's a smart play. It might be risky. Let me know what you think in the comments. But either way, these are my must starts for this game. You fire up those Packers, and let's get ready for a high-scoring affair. All right, next up, we got an NFC South showdown. 2 rivals between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints. Not a lot to discuss here. Tampa Bay's been pretty solid. They got some pretty key players. You just plug and play them. Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, is a must start. This season, he's been super consistent. You just ride out Baker here, pause, but you play him. He's definitely a QB1 in all formats, so I play him as a must start. Bucky Irving, he is going to be the RB1 this week. There is no Rashad White, so Bucky Irving has a floor start for me with upside. I do see a lot of upside, but the New Orleans Saints are pretty good against the run, so let's temper our expectations because of that run defense. But Bucky is a floor play. I'm playing him in 2 leagues, especially PPR. Get him in your lineups. Mike Evans, I see him as a must start. Now, traditionally, he does struggle against Lattimore. That can't go on forever. Mike Evans is too talented. This is a Hall of Fame talent. He's going to walk right into the Hall of Fame as soon as he leaves the NFL. Fire him up. He's a must start. Chris Godwin, PPR monster. Fire him up. He's a must start. And Cade Otton, I see him as a floor start with upside again. If you're dying for desperation at tight end, Cade Otton is a very safe play. He is around that 6 to 8 points consistently. He just doesn't have the huge upside. So for that reason, I see him as a floor play in week 6. Speaking of those Saints, they come into this game with a lot of question marks. Quarterback Derek Carr went down with an oblique injury. He's going to be out at least this game, probably a few more. So Spencer Rattler, the rookie, is going to take his shot. My buddy's been telling me about Spencer Rattler for the past few years. He swears by this man. He swears if it wasn't for Caleb Williams, Spencer would have been one of the top picks in the NFL draft. So I can't wait to see what Spencer can do. I'm an owner of a few Saint players, so I'm going to be watching very closely. With that said, he's a risky start. Keep him on your benches. I don't even know if you want to stash him, but you can do that depending on what your rosters are like in super flex leagues. In terms of Alvin Kamara, he's an absolute must start every week. Just plug him in. They're going to lean on him even more without Derek Carr. Chris Olave, I'm looking at him as a hero start this week. That's a boomer bust. He can either blow up for you or he could absolutely tank. This is very scary play. I'm leaning on playing him in one league, but I'm not sure. I do like what I'm hearing from Spencer Rattler. He's saying that he's going to be throwing the ball to Olave a lot. He loves the talent. He said in practice, he just looks his way, and that's where I'm going. So hopefully that translates to the game and it actually turns into some receptions. But that's a hero start, boomer bust. After that, everyone else I see has a big risk in this offense without Derek Carr. So Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, keep them on your benches. I think they are risky in week 6. Next up, we got the Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Probably going to go through this one pretty quick. We got a lot of injuries and a lot of poor play here. Anthony Richardson is an injury risk. He might play, he might not. It looks like he's leaning towards playing. I'm not 100% sure at the time of this recording. If he does, he's a risky start. In terms of Joe Flacco, if he does play, I would look at him more as a floor start with upside. The Tennessee Titans do have a very good defense. I know what you're thinking. Flacco was thrown all over the field last week, but the Titans have a pretty good defense, especially at home. Jonathan Taylor, another injury risk. I don't think he's going to play. Trey Sermon, another injury risk. I do think he's going to play. I would temper expectations. Like I said, the Titans defense is good, and he's coming in banged up. In terms of the wide receivers, we already have Michael Pittman ruled out. Alex Pierce is coming in. I think he's a huge risk. I wouldn't play him. Have him on my benches. And Adonai Mitchell, same thing. Keep him on the benches. Very risky. The only player I consider playing here is Josh Downs. I look at him as a floor play with upside, depending on the quarterback. If it is Joe Flacco, then you can play a Josh Downs as as a not a must start, somewhere on that medium risk. Medium risk. Looking at those Titans, it's been a struggle for them to move the ball all season. Will Levis has been giving the ball to the other team just as much as he's been helping his own. For that reason, he is an absolute risky start. I'd keep him on the benches. Don't even think he should be rostered. Tony Pollard, he's a must start. Get him in your lineups. Trust him. He's been getting better every week. They've been finding the groove with him. He's the clear cut RB1 in this offense. Get him in your lineups. He should be able to produce against the Colts. Tajay Spears, I see him as a floor start. They've been running him a lot more too. They can't trust, like I said, Will Levis, so they need to use their running backs. I see Tajay as a floor start. Not huge upside, but he does have a good floor this week. DeAndre Hopkins, I think him as the best receiver in terms of PPR. I see him getting the most targets this week. I see him as a hero start. He might boom, but he could bust. So temper expectations. This is one of the lower expecting hero starts of the week. He doesn't match up with the rest of my hero starts. In terms of Calvin Ridley, I see him as a risky start. Other than that big bomb he caught against the Jets, he has not done anything all season. It's been crazy struggle. Like we said, Will Levis cannot be trusted, so he's a risky start. And then the tight end, they aren't using them. I don't know if they know how to use them. I don't know if they know what a tight end is over there, but they're not using them. So Chig, absolute bench, not even rostered, risky start. All right, next match we're looking at is between the LA Chargers and the Denver Broncos. AFC West showdown, two great defenses, so we're not going to get a lot of fantasy points. I'll quickly go through this one. Justin Herbert, can't start him. Haven't been able to start him all year. He has those foot problems. Keep him on your bench. He's a risky start. J.K. Dobbins, one of the best running backs in the league right now. He's been great coming out the blocks. They had an early bye, so the numbers aren't as great. I think they're going to pick up. Get him in your lineups. He has a floor start this week, even though it's a tough matchup. In terms of Lab McConkey, I see him as a floor start as well. I think he's going to be the number one target in the offense this week against a tough Denver defense. And if anybody's going to catch a touchdown, my money is on Lad. Sneaky good player. I was going to list him as a sleeper. He's kind of in that range between a floor start and a sleeper for me. Really like Lad. Quentin Johnson, not trusting it. He plays majority of his snaps on the outside. He's going to see Patrick Surtain. Not going to be able to beat him. Even when he sees lower talent corners, he's usually not able to beat them consistently. And Hayden Hurst, haven't heard of him, haven't seen him. He hasn't done anything. Not too sure what they're doing with the tight end position here, but he is not a start. Risky. Keep him on your benches. Not even your benches. Keep him in the free agency. Hopping over to the other half of this low-scoring affair, we got the Denver Broncos. Another, meek offense. This is not looking to put up a lot of points here. We got Bo Nix, risky start. He has been picking it up. He does use his legs. If you do find Bo Nix in a good matchup with a poor defense, he might be playable, but against a good defense, absolutely not serviceable. Javonte Williams has picked it up the last few weeks. I am moving him up to a floor start. He has a very good floor. Hasn't been able to hit the end zone. It's going to happen sooner or later. This could be the week. If he does, he'll turn out to be a boom player. So if you have Javonte Williams, not a bad play. If you don't have other options here, Jaleel McLaughlin, I see him as risky. He does turn the craziest plays into touchdowns, but if he doesn't find the end zone, he is absolutely useless to you. Javonte is taking over this backfield in terms of opportunity. So Jaleel, risky start. Cortland Sutton, I'm seeing him as a boom or bust option in week 6. Less likely to boom than bust. Less likely to bust than boom. I would keep him on my benches unless I had other options, but he does have boom potential. Josh Reynolds is an injury risk. I don't think he'll be playing. At the time of this video, I haven't got the word, but I'm pretty sure he's been ruled out for this matchup. The rest of the receivers, I don't think you can trust, as well as the tight end, Greg Dulcich. He had like a 2-3 week run a couple years ago. Other than that, he has not found a consistency in the offense. I don't see that happening this week. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on those Las Vegas Raiders. Not a big fantasy match here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Justin Fields, I see him as a hero start this week. That's a boom or bust play. A lot of people are seeing Justin as a must start. I'm not quite there. I've been hearing rumors that Russell Wilson could still get his opportunity. He's fully healthy now. Justin, if he doesn't produce at a high level, he could be reduced to a backup player. And he hasn't been consistent enough for me. He has that one boom game. Other than that, it's been very hit or miss. So I see him as a hero start. This is either going to be a boom or bust. Najee, he's a floor start. You can't have a high ceiling with Najee. He's had all the opportunity in the world and still hasn't converted it. The dude is just running in mud, but he's getting tons of opportunity, so he's a floor start. George Pickens, another player I see as a hero start, just like Justin Fields. He's either going to boom or bust. Too many ups and downs, not a consistent passing game in Pittsburgh, so it's hard to bank on him, but he does have that big play capability. Van Jefferson, he's way too risky. I see him as a risky start. Keep him on your benches or keep him in the free agency. And then Pat the Freiermuth, I see him as a sleeper start this week. Plug him in, play him. He's a top 10 tight end to me. That doesn't say a lot because those tight ends are weak, but I see him as a back end 8 or 9 tight end this week. But if you are short a tight end like I am, get him in your lineups. The Muth, he is a sleeper. Looking at those Las Vegas Raiders, it looks like they're turning the keys over to Aiden O'Connell. Well, I'm definitely not jumping on board with that. He's a risky start for me. Keep him in the free agency. Zamir White, another risky start. This season's been horrible for Zamir. They haven't been able to use his downhill running at all, so he's been useless. No passing, throwing his way. Nothing to be said for him in terms of fantasy, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Alexander Madison, he did have some upside a few weeks ago. He's been getting a ton of carries, but he's been running at about 2 yards per carry. It's not turning into any production. I see him as a floor start because he's getting so much opportunity, and he's the only pass catching back there. In terms of Jacoby Myers, I see him as a floor start once again because of the opportunity in the PPR format and the pass catching that he's getting with no Devontae Adams. Trey Tucker, they were talking about him taking a turn, getting some more opportunities, but I don't see it happening. He's a risky start. Keep him on your benches here. Let's wait to see if he can develop more chemistry and get a bigger opportunity, more consistency. And then Brock Bowers, he's the only stud in this offense. He's an absolute must start, one of the best tight ends in football. If you were able to grab Brock Bowers, you are laughing at tight end. Just plug and play him every week and, don't even think twice about it. All right, moving along, we're getting back into some of the fun games, some of the high-scoring games on the week. We got the Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys. This should be one of the best games on the weekend. I can't wait to watch this game. Fireworks everywhere. Kicking things off, we got Jared Goff as a floor start for me. Some people see him as a must start. I don't see him there. I think the Detroit Lions are going to run. Couple play actions. When they get in the red zone, we know they run efficiently. So Jared Goff is not high for me. I see him as a floor play, safe play, but not a huge upside. Dave Montgomery must start. He's going to score a touchdown. Anytime touchdown with Dave Montgomery is almost guaranteed money. Jahmyr Gibbs, too much talent to think anything other than the must start. That is a smash player. He could score from anywhere on the field. Just phenomenal player, and they love to use him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, he's a must start. Jared Goff's favorite target, especially in PPR formats. You fire him up, you don't think twice about it. Jameson Williams, I got him back in my good graces here against the Cowboys. I'm firing him up as a hero start. That's a boom or bust play. I think he's going to boom this week. Get him in your lineups. They're going to look to take at least 1 or 2 shots against these Cowboys when they're overplaying the run, and that's going to be the Jameson Williams times. If he does get the ball in his hands, look out. That kid is gone. And then at tight end, we've been disappointed so far. Sam Laporta has not turned out to be what we wanted. He was even a keeper for me in a couple leagues. A lot of us had him as our tight end 1 coming into the season. Still, you fire him up at Sam Laporta. It's a Detroit offense. They're going to move the ball. He's a must start. Don't think twice about it. Hopping over to those Dallas Cowboys, we got Dak Prescott. Absolute must start. You fire him up against this Detroit defense. They're really good against the run. Detroit is not great against the pass, so Dak Prescott is a must start. Rico Dowdle, he's starting to pick up some gas there. He had a really good game last week for the Cowboys. I'm going to temper expectations. Like I said, this Detroit Lions defense on the run is really good. They're really stout against the run. Other than Kenneth Walker, they shut everybody else down. Rico Dowdle, no disrespect, you're no Kenneth Walker. So I see you as a floor play because of the opportunity and the amount of touches you're getting. CeeDee Lamb, fire him up, must start, no questions asked. They'll get that thing clicking, especially against this defense. Jalen Tolbert, that is a sleeper for me, the wide receiver 2 out of Dallas. Fire him up, get him out of the free agency. Hopefully, you picked him up this week and you can start him. I think he has a lot of upside this week. Fire him up as a sleeper start. And then Jake Ferguson, top 5 tight end this week. I think you can fire him up confidently. He is a must start. He might even boom this week. I'm confidently playing him in a couple leagues, and I think Dak is going to look for him in the end zone. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Carolina Panthers. This is an NFC South showdown. Atlanta's coming in red hot. Kirk Cousins coming off a 500-yard passing game. Can't ignore that. Can't deny that. For that reason, I gotta have Kirk Cousins as a must start against this Carolina Panthers defense. Also, Bijan Robinson, he hasn't quite boomed yet. This could be the week. He is an absolute must start. Fire him up. Don't think twice about it. Tyler Algier, because of the opportunity against Carolina, I'm seeing him as a floor start. He may not boom. He may not score a touchdown. He may not have a ton of opportunities to get big points, but he'll have enough to put up a low floor for you, somewhere between that 6 to 10 points, which is safe, especially on these bye weeks. Drake London, fire him up, must start. He's a top 10 play. Darnell Mooney, fire him up, must start. He's a top 15 play. Both receivers should absolutely take off. And Kyle Pitts, now this one I can temper some expectations. We haven't quite seen him take off, but in terms of the landscape for the tight end position, he should still fit in that top 10 to 12 range. So fire him up as a must start. Atlanta should be able to score points against Carolina and get us enough fantasy points so that all of our Atlanta Falcons can, enjoy the piece of the pie and have a good Sunday. For the Carolina Panthers, not a lot to say. Andy Dalton, risky start. Keep him in the free agency. No reason to pick him up. At running back, Chuba Hubbard, he's been phenomenal the last few weeks. Until further notice, you plug and play him. He's almost in must-start territory. For this week, he's definitely a must-start. Even though Atlanta's got a stout defense there against the run, I'd fire him up without any worries. And in terms of Deontay Johnson, he's going to be going against AJ Terrell. Temper expectations. I don't see him having a massive game, but he'll get enough targets to garnish a good start. So he's a must start this week. The rest of the Panthers, they're risky starts. Don't even look their way. Eventually, Jatavian Sanders might be someone you can look at. Probably not this year. The kid had a ton of talent in college. Eventually, that will transfer, in my opinion. But in 2024, nah, you can go elsewhere. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for following up with us in season 2. So excited to get things rolling. Once again, follow our fantasy season. I'm going to give you guys an up close and personal look. Give me your ideas. So let's stay interactive. Let me know what you think. I'll definitely be interactive, responding to all your comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Give us a like, and you can give us a follow at Souljash Sports. Thank you. Peace, love, and let's continue to smoke the competition.